Growing up in poverty and seeing how hard my parents worked. My dad was a carpenter. My mom cleaned houses, and then she had a daycare for a while. And they both were, to this day, like the hardest working people that I will ever know. And knowing that I had made what they would make in an entire year in 1 month, and I'm just like messing around on the internet. And I had such immense guilt because I was like, they should be here. They should be enjoying this because they made me who I am. It was like, I think I want to do this. I don't know. What do you think? Is it a good idea? And I walked her through some questions to help her decide. And I said, don't decide right now. Sit with it. Be still. Be quiet. Listen to yourself and you will know the answer. And we always do. I believe that we always do. It's, can you be quiet enough and can you quiet everything else enough to hear it? And when you can do that, I think that we're truly just unstoppable. Hot yoga is my most sacred Zen state that I think my body and heart and soul and mind and my whole being can be in. And I think that it's because it forces you to be so in your body.
This is Connecting the Thoughts, a place where women in health and leadership come to reconnect to their body, their truth, and their story. I'm your host, Megan, RN, somatic conditioning coach, and founder of Rhythm Wellness. This podcast is a place to explore the stories behind strong women, the stressors they've carried, the pivots they've made, the ways their bodies have spoken to them, and the somatic practices that have brought them back into rhythm again. Today, I am joined by the $1 Million mentor for health and wellness businesses, Breshears. Welcome.
Thank you so much.
Thank you
I'm so
being,
excited.
thank you for being here. I'm so excited as well. I've so much that I want to talk to you about today. Thank you for coming on here. I definitely think this episode is going to be something that a lot of women are going to resonate. Before further ado, right, I would love to dive in. Please tell us, how did you become a mentor where you currently are today?
My goodness. It has been really the most natural progression. It wasn't I woke up one day and was like, I want to mentor women in the health and wellness space on marketing. That was never the dream. I worked in the acute setting and thought that that was it for me. Never dreamed that I would be doing anything else. I am of the Grey's Anatomy generation. And so I was influenced.
Trust. Yes. I get that totally. Yes.
But yeah, I built my personal brand online from 2015 to 2020 and unintentionally learned how to market online and learned through trial and error and lots of flops. And then started having people reaching out saying, hey, we love what you're doing. Can you help us with our socials? And so I started with social media management, and I quickly found that there were a lot of women who had amazing gifts and were doing amazing work, but didn't have a marketing budget. And so I said, okay, well, how can I bridge that gap? And it's by teaching them to fish instead of giving them a fish. And so, yeah, I have been able to help hundreds of clients now. We're 5 years in to show up just more authentically, boldly, efficiently online.
So beautiful. Thank you for sharing all of that. How was kind of transition into I know you kind of said that you started with your own thing. What were you doing before you became a mentor now?
Well, hold on. Do you mean after I left clinical or in
when you
setting?
were clinical, walking through clinical? Just kind of found it, start where your story kind of starts. So I'm as far as you would like to go back and share with that, right? I'm
well, in
please.
September of 1988.
No, I love this, but you have experience, right? And that experience has probably shaped a lot of where you are today. So I'm please share whatever you would like about it.
Yeah. So I have worked in every setting except a SNF and home health.
Okay.
I did schools, I did private practice, I did acute, I did inpatient rehab, I did outpatient, adults and peds, I did teletherapy. I really dabbled in it all and spent most of my time in acute. I still to this day, I'm grateful for that time. And I learned so much. Sometimes I think I learned more than I should have, because sometimes you're ignorance really is bliss. It would be nice if I didn't know how serious the situation really was. Yeah. So I worked really across the whole spectrum. had a little bit of experience in the NICU. And so I would see patients in the NICU and then I would go and see a palliative patient. And so it was really like so beautiful because it was the entire lifespan and just like getting to support people in whatever that season looks like.
Yeah, that definitely, even right there, I can only imagine how that's impacted where you are now and how you serve people, right? And try
Yeah.
to help them because you've seen, like you just said, both ends of the
Yeah.
spectrum. So you really are able to see the whole human being,
Yeah.
right? Like, and again, that is something that came with time and
Oh,
to
yeah.
get to this place for sure. Do you
Yeah.
ever think there are any experiences within like the healthcare space that kind of now, as a mentor, you almost reflect back on like certain moments? Is there any moment that stands out to you?
Oh, yeah. I feel like I use my clinical experience all the time, like every day in the work that we're doing,
Yeah.
because so I'm working primarily with like female founders who are venturing into the entrepreneurial side of the health and wellness space. And so, like, understanding like they're very niche content. Like, I have
Yeah.
a fees provider, the fiber optic endoscopic
Okay.
swallow
Yeah.
study, and I have been fees trained, so like I know how to speak to that.
Hmm.
I think I pull from my clinical knowledge a lot, but also just like the psychology side of marketing is vital to understand. And I have that understanding from so many interactions in my clinical work too.
For sure. I love hearing that. And it's like, because you've touched so many patients over those
Yeah.
years. And now, you have transitioned into being a mentor, right? Where do you see that you are also the work you're doing for everyone else, right? And how you're serving them? How did you see that start to reflect in your own life?
Well, I think
Yeah, I know that's a big like bite to chew, but I'm like, please take your time
yeah.
thinking about it.
No, so I have always said that being an entrepreneur and really like just showing up online is the greatest personal development project that you'll ever take on because it forces you to look inward. It forces you to like if I haven't done the work that I'm asking my clients to do, then how am I going to help them with that? And part of that really is facing any limiting beliefs that you have, any blocks that you're carrying, any inherited trauma that you have generational trauma. There's so much to it. Like it really is how do you eat the elephant? Like one bite at a time, but like this is a big elephant.
No, for sure. It
Yeah.
really is. And it's like the over time,
Yeah.
that definitely it takes time. That
Yeah.
is also the point of
Yeah.
that is like it takes time to go through that because you
Yeah.
just named off so many things, right?
Yeah.
And so did you notice that there were specific things? You don't have to go in super detail, right? But were there any
Yeah.
specific things that you knew? Okay, I am very aware of this behavior right now, right? And in order
Mhm.
to get to this next step and where I want to go, I need to
Mhm.
make these changes. Is there anything specific that kind of comes to mind with that?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
The very first thing, and I identified this like I think I had taken on 2 clients and I was like, I already see that was money mindset. So I grew up in pretty significant poverty in Oklahoma, which is already like one of the lowest like cost of living states in the US. And so the way that that showed up for me was like charging what I should be, charging what my services were worth, charging what I needed to be able to survive and make it, worth my time and not just a really time consuming hobby. So that one was huge. And then another thing that like I did not see this one coming. I didn't know that it was anything that I was carrying around. I'm going to try really hard not to get emotional. I talked about this yesterday and did not expect to get emotional because
Okay,
it's been a
sweet,
little
please.
while. So we had our first $50,000 month. It's been a little over a year ago. And the day that it happened, I just cried the whole day because so both of my parents have passed. And thank you. Growing up in poverty and seeing how hard my parents worked. My dad was a carpenter. My mom cleaned houses and then she had a daycare for a while. And they both were to this day like the hardest working people that I will ever know. Knowing that I had made what they would make in an entire year in 1 month and I'm just like messing around on the internet. And I like had such immense guilt because I was like, they should be here. They should be enjoying this because like they made me who I am. They made me the person that's able to do this. And it took it's still something that I think I'm working through and like letting go of and leaning more into like the fact that I know that like they created me to be this person, and they would shake their finger at me for thinking that I should be anything less. But yeah, there's a lot that I think we carry around and we don't even realize that we are.
For sure. That was beautifully spoken. And thank you for
Thank
sharing
you.
that.
Yeah.
So that is huge. And like the
Mhm.
money mindset and seeing
yeah.
that deeper layer. And they're always with you also. I
Yeah.
want to say, I know. Yeah, you know that. But they'd be so proud also to see you working through that because
Yeah.
again, like you wish they could be here with you,
Yeah.
like to see it and witness it. And
Yeah.
also strong sister right there because that's a lot to hold. You are able, that's
Yeah.
yours. And so thank you again for sharing that because that is not easy. That's not easy.
Yeah.
And the acceptance that you are so worthy of it, right? And it's like
Yeah.
that even in of itself to me, right? That's another layer of your mindset too, because now you are like, we are replicating our parents kind of, and trying to walk and make better steps and strides. And so even just to be able to process that and go through that, I think that is something that like there's no time to that either, right?
Yeah.
Like that is just, there are deeper layers of yourself that you meet along the way also that just unfold that. So beautifully shared. And I do want to touch on the money mindset a little bit more because I think that is something I also work through. I come from a little town in upstate New York, and that yearly like salary of $100,000 was it. Like you made it in that town, like that was huge. And so to even start to work through that in my own nature, it's not easy, right? Like this is right here. If it was, everyone would do it. And even those mindsets, you're talking like, what? You can't receive that. But you really have to almost prepare yourself to receive in those moments. Like, did you even see that coming up going from like a nerd, like nursing type of or like healthcare salary, do you get what I'm saying, to coming into this, right? Like that's a layer in and of itself to even like because doctors are making that, right? Or like higher levels are making that. And so we are capable of what we're doing to shine our light, to be able to give. Did you kind of feel like that also has impacted your journey up this far?
Yeah, like the capacity to receive. And like, I think a lot of times as women, especially, we try not to be like an imposition or a bother or, like, let us stay out of the way. Let us take care of other people first. Like, no, I'm fine. I'm fine. I'm fine. And whenever you're asking people to give you money, even though you're giving them a service, like you're not just asking for donations.
Exactly.
But it's like, it feels like, for me, it felt like the equivalent to like asking for help. And as we're working on this, but as a hyper independent woman, that was so hard for me. And it just felt like I could feel my like subconscious and my nervous system fighting against it. And there have been several times that I have like written out an invoice and I'm like, okay, we got this. We're actually giving them a really good deal. But I'm looking and I'm like, oh my gosh, like that's more money than I made in a year as an SLP in the schools or in private practice or whatever. And I'm like, just sending this invoice, like no big deal. And so I have to like sit with that and really like remind myself that the work that we're doing really is life-changing and it's worth every single penny. And we're doing them a favor and giving them a gift in the work that we do. But it's a constant thing.
It's a great way to say it though. And it is something to work through because again, like this is the world that we live in now, right? And that is kind of how we give and take and stuff. And it is like being able to receive. And that also is layers of what our whole experience in this life has been, right? And receiving and all the different places besides money that come up for us, right? And that's where it's more personal to everyone's story. And we're having someone like a mentor, right? Or someone to guide you through that. It is not a sign of weakness. It's a sign of strength to be able to just like process that and dive into that world. And so, yes, capacity is a huge word that I do like to bring up a lot. And so what practices, because you've expanded your capacity thus far. I know since you started comparatively to now, you would say that there have been a lot of changes, right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I think whenever I look at the girl so my very first package that I ever sent an invoice for was $355 a month. And it was essentially what I charge $2,000 a month for now. And I was severely undercharging then. But even then, I was like freaking out whenever I sent the invoice. And I think that like expanding your capacity happens for me, it has happened in like one small step at a time. I didn't go from $355 to $2,000. It was $997 and then it was $1197. And also in like, I think that it comes with building your trust in yourself and knowing that like what you're creating, what you're doing, the work that you're providing, you see more and more value in it as you continue to grow in your skill and grow in your experience. And I think that that also supports like expanding your capacity.
Yeah, I think that is huge. Again, I'm like, I just love the way you're putting it into words because I was going to kind of touch on that. It is one step in front of the other. That's where I'm always telling my clients, right? And we've lived this experience to know that because it's taken years of just kind of like whatever trial, error, did this work, and being able to accept and starting. I love that you said that. Like you want to get to the big number, but it's okay to practice right here, receiving at that number first, because a mountain is a mountain, right? Big or small, there's still something you have to climb up to get through that. So you don't have to bite out off Mount Everest. You can just start, like one crescendo. But again, it's the willingness to keep trying and keep showing up. And even when that voice keeps repeating in your head, whatever the story is, right? You're still saying no. You can keep talking all you want, right? And like eventually though, it does almost become that shift, right? Now that's when we realize like we really have expanded our capacity because even if the voice is still there, it's not necessarily the same. It's not as loud or it's a little bit different, right? Maybe a little kinder to yourself or a little bit, just softer in that essence. And I think that's something so many people want to skip past, right? Like we just want to be there. We want the result. And you've seen this, I'm sure. Speech pathology, we can get into this too. I'd definitely love, but it's like you've seen this. It takes time. And every person is so different that to race to just the end line, like there is no timeline for it. And so I'm not sure how you necessarily do your packaging, right? But like I set up 12 weeks. That's just like, that's a start. And you should be able to get somewhere with that, right? That is the whole point is that I'm doing my job right. And I walked you through a place to be. But there's also room for ongoing, right? If you want to keep integrating that work, because that's a huge piece, I think, for expanding capacity is the integration part. Like you have to give yourself time to practice. You didn't just take the test after you just learned the material in class, you had weeks upon building and just coming to different realizations within the work to see the whole picture. And so again, thank you for speaking on this, because it is something that I think so many women need to hear as they're evolving into this. I have like a nurse coach certification in my like world, and where I'm kind of trying to pass the message along here. And this is why I love having conversation with you is more women out there also that are helping to like do this work and they're doing their own work first though, right? Like I always say walking the walk as much as you talk the talk, because that is how you're able to provide and like serve others. So this kind of leads me into, I want to touch on your yoga practice and just what you love about it and how it has served you and all, all these years. When did you start doing yoga? That's a great question to say. When did you start doing it?
So it was the fall of 2023, I believe. Yeah. So it's been like 2.5 years, and I got certified to teach last fall, like 6 months ago is whenever we started.
Yay.
And and now I do teach every week at the Velvet Mat in St. Pete, and then I also sub at Beach Town in St. Pete. And I never intended on teaching. I like signed up for the training because I was like, oh, I just want to like deepen my practice. And really I was like, I need to know if I'm actually doing this right, because I just learned from like watching everybody else.
Yes.
But it has been the greatest gift. And I have a business coach, and a month or so ago, we were on a call and she was like, do you realize that like the light in your eyes is back and like you're glowing again and you're you again? And that was a huge shift that I saw like going through yoga teacher training, because it does require so much time with yourself. And it really felt like whenever I started yoga teacher training, I was more burnt out than I think I had ever been. And I actually last year said, okay, I'm going to take the last quarter. I'm not creating new programs. I'm not selling anything. We're taking care of our clients, obviously. I'm taking care of my team, but I'm not creating anything new. And like, that was hard at first. But it was exactly what I needed. And I feel like I'm a different person now in all the best ways. But yoga, it has been such a gift for me personally, but also for me professionally. Some of my best ideas for myself and for my clients come to me in Shavasana because you're finally got your brain to just like chill. And that's whenever your creativity can flow.
That is so wonderful. The power of the pause,
Yes.
right? Like, again, no timeline, there's no race. And so when you were feeling that burnt out place, that was kind of when you were like, okay, yes, I still have to live my life, right? Like, I still have to be on the, doing these things, but you were able to pause from keep trying to push, like go forward. That's grind mode, right? That's just hustle culture and all of that. And we're bread and butter here, right? Like, you're trying to do a business, you're always trying to compete for it. But in that regard, how much you have even come and how far you've come because you took that pause. That is something that I am huge on myself too. And as I talk it, I have walked it, right? And there have been seasons of my life where, yes, I needed a 3 to 5 month span of time where I'm doing and I'm showing up the way I'm supposed to be showing up. But the rest of it is very much like self-reflection, time with yourself. And I think you can maybe, I'm speaking for myself, but it's like that head shatter does quite, like we just get on speed mode and we're trying to do all of the things because we're capable and we know that we're capable, right? But also riding in the wave that's smooth versus crashing against the wall. Yeah. What was kind of your moment that you realized you had hit burnout? Was there like a, just a specific moment that comes to mind?
Yeah. I actually had one where it was August or maybe no, it was August because my birthday's in September. And the year before I had done like a huge birthday promotion. And that was whenever we had, it was $54,000 that we did in a month. And that was our first like 50,000 plus month. And so I felt but also let me like run this back because
please.
I launched 4 offers and I delivered 3. No. I delivered 2 of them and initiated the 3rd. And then I was still selling the 4th one all in a month and all like I pre-sell everything. So I am selling offer 2 while I'm delivering offer 1. I'm selling offer 3 while I'm delivering offer 2. I mean, I don't even want to know how many hours I worked that month, but I was so tired. And then we got hit with the hurricanes right after that. And I had other like personal stuff going on. But then I never slowed down, like for a whole nother year. I just kept going because then I felt this pressure to recreate that. And like, well, you can't do 54 and then drop back down to 30, which even like 35, I'm like, Sarah, listen to yourself. Like, that's crazy. But then I felt even more pressure going into September because I was like, oh, it's my birthday month. I have to do something huge. And if we did 54 last year, like we have to do 108 this year. Let's, nothing else would be good enough. And so I just had this moment where I was so tired. Like I was nervous system, like subconscious to my core, my soul was tired. And I was thinking about selling this program and it's my favorite. I teach, people who have a clinical practice how to launch digital products to like supplement their one-on-one income. Excuse me. It's my most favorite program that I deliver. And I was like getting ready to start selling it. And the thought of delivering it, I was like, oh, God, I don't want to do that. And that moment, whenever I realized that I didn't want to do my most favorite thing, I was like, okay, we got to like take a pause. And I had this moment of like, what if I just didn't? Like, what if I just said no? And like, I'm saying no to me, but like, she's the one I need to say no to most sometimes. And so I sent my business coach a like voice note and I was like, what do you think if I just like take the rest of the year off? Her response was like, whoa. Before you decide this, let's talk about it. And I was like, we talked through it, but I was like, no, I'm doing this. We talk about, I feel like in the online industry, there's so much like hustle culture and I'm not against hard work and I'm not against seasons of hustle, but there's so much talk about like, oh, the game's won in the last quarter. Like, don't give up on yourself. This is when you run your hardest. And I was just like, no, I'm not doing it. I am so tired. And like really, I also realized it had been almost an entire year since I had taken time off work at all. And like, I'm decent about protecting my weekends, but that's a long time to go just grinding 10, sometimes 14 hours in a day, 5, 6 days a week. Like, no wonder I was tired.
You were, for sure you were. Definitely here. Of course you were tired. You were not stopping. This is what I love that you shared this, because this is so powerful. And I've been coming up a lot, right, on these conversations about the word discipline and what it's so individualized. I feel like we as a society today, right, have made this is its thing and this is what it is. And if you're not doing these criteria of check these off, then you're not disciplined. You're not doing it. And what a disservice to the people that are trying, that sometimes just need they need their own thing. They have had their own experiences right here. We're talking about healing and shedding things that no longer serve you. Like, no one's experience is the same. We all live individual lives, as much as we build community, we still have our own experiences. And so to do that, like hustle, I call again, like air quotes, hustle culture. It is hustle culture. There's a crescendo to it, right? Like, and this is where I come back to the word capacity almost. Everyone's at their own, and we also have different goals. Like, we're not even trying to, it might seem like that. And that's how we kind of relate and try to connect to people, right? And there is a level of healthy competition. But when now it's pushing you into a very ego place where you're not at your center, right? It's huge. And again, these conversations are so meaningful and powerful because we can work through this, and we all are human beings. That's the other part that I think a lot of people miss is you're judging who you, for one, you should not be judge your own self, not anyone else type of vibe, right? But it's like, they're also human. They have their own things to work through. And now, if you can't necessarily come to that, that's an own reflection of self and what you need to work through, right? And just like, how are you showing up as a human? And so it's definitely something that I very much have been, where I've had to have these places again, coming back to it's an ebb and a flow. Like, you can work hard sometimes. But when it's too much, so I came to this with bodybuilding. So I competed in bodybuilding for a couple of years, and I wanted it so bad. I was a 3-sport athlete, but I also had my deeper layers of body image that I had worked through. I was very much would be what people considered an ugly duckling in my family. Definitely dealt with, and I dealt with a lot of weight issues. I yo-yoed and right here, nervous system health, where it all comes to play. And I understand now, right? But in bodybuilding, I got to the point where I was being my own worst critic. I wanted this so bad, for goals about helping other people. The whole gist of wanting to become a pro was to say that I walked this journey as much as I'm trying to help someone else go through this journey. And then I'm now reflecting, life happens and things happen in my life. And one day I was working out and I was being so nasty to myself. I just wasn't hitting it the way I should have been hitting it. And I was already to my max stressed out, right? And I just left the set. I walked right out of it, and I'm like, you know what? Discipline my butt, basically. You get what I'm saying? Like, I have had enough. I'm not going to beat myself down as much as I feel like wherever I'm at right now, the world is beating me down, right? Like, I cannot do this to myself, and that's where I had to hone into my own power. Journey, though, let me tell you, that was day one, right? That unfolded like a 2 to 3 year journey of trying, and it's one step in front of the other. It's not like it was all hard the whole way, right? But that chunk of time, that's when I really needed those 3 months at first, though, where I was like, I'm done with it. If it's not, I was ready to let everything go. When they see, 3 sheets to the wind, I had my breaking, I really was. I was at my max, tapped out, and going through that also made me realize where I come to say, come back down to earth. You know what I'm saying? This is the world and the society that we live in. And these are just the things that this is my personal journey. And that's where even understanding that and being able to speak to it, right? We all get there in our own time. And some days it really is, it's a toe forward. It's not even a full step. I'm going to make an inch, right? And there are other days it's a tidal wave rolling in and you've made such progress. And I think the biggest thing there is the awareness that you were at that point. And that you realize, this is why I asked the question in the first place, right? You were like, what if I just don't do it? What's the worst thing that's going to happen if now I honor myself and where I'm at And
Yeah.
yes, I can keep going, but at what it cost, right?
Yeah.
Like at what is the cost of that? And so I do want to bring it back a little bit to yoga. Were you doing some of those practices when I know you're teaching it now, right? But
Mm-hmm.
before that, you again were kind of walking it as you're talking
Oh,
it, right? So
yeah.
you were learning it. How was that serving you and just managing your stress through that time and really coming back
Yeah.
to yourself?
Oh my gosh. I feel like, so I love hot yoga, and I know everybody has their opinions about what yoga is and what it's not and what it shouldn't be and whatever. Hot yoga is like my like most sacred Zen state that I think my body and heart and soul and mind and my whole being can be in. And I think that it's because it forces you to be so in your body. Like you cannot be in your head if you are trying to hold a warrior three in 98 degrees and you're sweaty and like I'm just not thinking about anything else other than my breath, my muscles, my balance, like where my body is in space. And I think about like name like 5 things you can see, 4 things you can hear, 3 things you can like that exercise. And I'm like, you're doing that and not even realizing that you're doing that in yoga because you're so just like centered in the now. And I remember feeling like laying on my mat in Shavasana, I could almost just feel this like protective bubble over me. And it was like everybody else, everything else, every to do, every email, everything was on the outside. And I felt so like held and protected in that bubble. And I was just like, I don't ever want to leave. Like I see how people can have like true addictions to like fitness or meditation or, whatever it is, because it felt so good to just be me and not be Sarah, the founder, or Sarah, the strategist, or, I just got to be me. And that truly like was my saving grace. And I think if I hadn't had yoga, I would have hit that point way earlier than I did. I think that for better or worse, it allowed me to keep going, but also once I did decide, okay, I'm going to take a break, I had so much more time to spend. And also doing yoga teacher training, I was spending every Friday, Saturday, Sunday at the studio talking about yoga spiritually, ethically, philosophically, and the physical practice, but just like spending so much time with myself. And I think that that is how I was able to do the amount of healing that I did in those 3 months, and that it was like so transformative for me. And I also want to say too, I was also doing EMDR during all of this. I've been doing it like 13 months, and that has been a huge, huge tool for me in healing, not just like grief with my parents and childhood, but also like things with work. Like now, a lot of what we do in my sessions with my therapist like goes back to what I'm doing for work. But yeah, yoga, it truly feels like a little bubble that you get to just be in, and you get to be you without any outside influence. And it's amazing.
Is so amazing. And thank you for all of that. I'm like, I keep saying thank you, but I just love everything that you're saying. It resonates so deeply because that is something that I see with yoga and how I incorporate it into my practices. Again, client based. And it's not the whole session either. It's the moments like what you're saying to create a space of safety within yourself and like feel like it's home without all the outside, chat or stimulation, like just to give you that place to be able to breathe. Like you can imagine how many people like they don't even realize the breath, right? Yeah, I know you. Yeah. I'm like, who am I saying this? Yeah, of course you know this, right? And it's like, even I put hand on chest, hand on belly, right? And right there is my first assessment, just even seeing how you are in that body. And that's where, it starts to become individualized. But again, if you didn't feel that in your own experience with it and realizing that it is a safe place that you can come back to, that's why it's a practice, right? And it's a lifetime practice that you always have. It's a tool in your toolkit of just like how you move through this world and feel good in this world. I so believe that we all deserve that, right? So I love having this conversation also about yoga because sometimes people think it's just it's so emphasized on the slow and like dragged out that someone that's very stimulated, right? To them, that's like, oh my God, no, I can't even look that way,
Oh my God,
right?
yes.
But if we take it away from almost being so, again, not that it's forced, but like you do see online culture where it's like, if you're not doing it this way, then it's you're wrong. And it's like, there's a place for that. So maybe you try it and you don't like it, right? Maybe then what you realize though out of that session is that you want to focus a little on your breath. Or you want to focus a little on meditating, right? Like what it serves in so many ways because you're using all of these deeper layers of tools that you can add onto it, right? And I do love also that you touched on that it can become addictive because now in your own mind, right? Like it's that inner child, right? We found that place where we feel very safe. We don't want to leave it. Like we're going to cling to it like we are. That is third. But also, why I bring that up though is because you explored other modalities as well. So it's like doing something else too. Like, yes, this practice is so wonderful, but also being honest about the other spaces where you know that you could be served more and you could like evolve through that and work through that, right? Were there any other like somatic practices that you've been doing or tried?
I try to meditate. And I say I try to meditate daily. I know that I should meditate daily because I feel better when I do. I try to meditate regularly. And also, like, I have found that walking and being outside and specifically like being around water is so therapeutic and so like centering for me. I feel like, I don't know, I'm sure there's like neuroscience around this.
Deeper layer in astrology was what I was going to say here. Like, for sure. Yeah. You resonate with it. It's an element that you like a lot. And it does like it. I've been like doing a lot of research too in like Celtic salts and stuff like that because there is different layers and like it does correlate with astrology kind of and what your body needs. That is so powerful that you do that. And so were you younger when you realized that you were called to do, you know, like go to the water? Oh, those are more nature things, right? Meditation, I'm sure came a little bit later on, not so young, but can you think of an experience growing up in Oklahoma where you would go outside, right? And like, you know, please tell me a story you can think of.
Well, so we had a lot, like a place at the lake, and I spent every single weekend from like March to November at the lake. And I was born the day after Labor Day. And I was at the lake whenever I was like 2 weeks old. And obviously, you know, probably not like in the lake, but I just was always around water and I loved and still to this day, like whenever there's like the meme that's like take the girl to the pool on a date and like see if she looks the same. I'm like, no, I'm totally that person that I'm like mermaid in the water, like the George Washington hair.
I always used to do that with my sister, the George Washington hair. I love, thank you for that memory. That was a good one.
Yeah. But yeah, it just, I've always, like, that's always been my happy place. And even like going home to Oklahoma now, my parents moved and lived at the lake for probably the last like 8 years that my mom was alive. And then my dad sold their place shortly after she passed. And even going home now, like they're not there, obviously, but like that still feels like home. The lake, the boat ramp, like that still feels like the center of the universe for me.
A little piece for you. So that in and of itself is just, it's so gorgeous, everything you're saying. I'm like, I keep saying beautiful, but like, I love it so much because you do honor yourself still and you do honor that place inside of you that says, I know that going outside and going near the water is going to make me feel good, right? So even choices like that, you've got a busy day, right? You're still doing all of these things. You're finding ways to still fill your cup, right? And so how would you say that right here, as you're walking this walk, how do you feel like this translates with your clients and how you kind of serve them, right?
Yeah. Oh my gosh. I think in so many different ways. I think like this whole process of slowing down and taking the break and really like tuning into me. And I think that it's one of those things that makes me go, oh, that's so funny. But it's like, no, it's actually so perfect that the universe led me to both of these journeys at once. It's like the slowing down and really tuning inward, but also spending more time on my mat. I got stronger. I got more stable. My balance got better. So not only am I trusting myself more mentally, emotionally, cognitively, spiritually, I trust my body more too. And there's something to be said for that in helping you feel like more solid in everything that you're doing. So like anytime I have a client who actually I had one text me last night and she was like, I think I want to do this. I don't know. What do you think? Is it a good idea? And I walked her through some questions to help her decide. And I said, don't decide right now. Like, sit with it, be still, be quiet, listen to yourself, and you will know the answer. And we always do. I believe that we always do. It's, can you be quiet enough and can you quiet everything else enough to hear it? And when you can do that, I think that we're truly just like unstoppable, because that is like your North Star. That is our deepest knowing. And I think that that guides us to our purpose. I think that that guides us to the people that we're meant to help, to the people who are meant to help us. I think it's everything. And so I always try to direct clients, I'm going to give you like the logistic information that you need also and that guidance. But like, I try to always remind them that they know what is best for them. And sometimes that may not be the advice that I give you. That may not look like what I'm doing in my business. It may look totally different for you, but like, you're the expert on you always.
That is powerful, very powerful, because it is so true. It is absolutely so true. Please go for it. I'm like, go for it, girl. But it really is the power that you have yourself to go after it. And right here where you're talking about trusting, it is so important to trust yourself. And again, I say this world because we're here. Like, this is where we're at in present day, right? Like, this is the world we live in now. But it's like, think about all the experiences where, you've been made to believe that you couldn't think this way, right? Or you've been led this way. And so a lot of that also chatter is because you do know your North Star, but you were listening to everyone else. And now I always do like a zigzag crisscross. You're trying to find that way through, right? And again, this is where coming back to the things that make you already feel like home, already start to sift out that first layer of noise, right? Just the first one. That doesn't mean it's like there's deeper ones, right? But as you go and you try to just stay, you realize, I do know what I want. This is like, because now I'm listening, right? I got rid of the extra layer. Now I'm in this inner layer. Okay, that doesn't even sound like my voice. And, like, whose voice is that that's saying that to me, right? Like, this is not something I would say to myself. I always feel like I'm big sistering myself, or I'm like, in your own type of way, because I love my mom still. And I still, I still like, listen to her sometimes, but I have to be there for myself, like I have to be able to pick myself up in those moments. And so working through that head chatter, definitely something I had to work through and still work through, right? I still work through this. I have a business, much like, like that does not necessarily go away. It's the practices and the toolkit that you build to work through that when it does come up. So it's not so loud. It's not impacting your choices and your judgments on things and like your discernment on what you want to do. You're not crossing your boundaries, right? You are big thing too is I've been talking about recently is like the ability to say no. And like, even that, we want all of it. We know we're capable of it. So we get in the yes mode and we want to do all these things. But that's also where that crisscross starts happening, right? Because now you're going a million different places instead of following your true center. And so that is powerful. That is like, we are so powerful, you know? And as women, I think a lot of it too, there's different layers here. I'm not going against men or anything like that. Right. But it's like, we just have our own like layers that we work through and our own things that come up that it does. Again, I come back to the moment of time and like, it just does take a little bit of time and it's one step in front of the other, but to be able to help them see that they are, like you get to make those choices. And I love that you also said that you're okay if it's not your choice, right? Like it doesn't have to be what I'm telling you. This is where I also try to show up, right? Like I'm a guide. I'm here to be next to you and walk with you. Not like that's the whole point of this is like, I noticed on your page, you said done with you. And I love that you put it like that because it is like you're walking side to side. I always am telling clients, I didn't do this for you because sometimes they'll thank, they're like, thank me. And I am so grateful. I want to receive that. But I also don't want it to necessarily be so much of a spotlight on me, right? Because you did this work. Like I want you to acknowledge because in the future when things come up, right? Like this is where I have your toolkit on helping you build, but in the future, things are going to come up for you. And so like, are you able to work through those things, right? Are you allowed to kind of quiet your mind to get back into your body? Like, that's huge. And again, something that I had to, much like you, like it takes practice and it takes time. And again, everyone is going to be in their own place with that, even like it's going to all be different across this.
Yeah.
Would you say that you see that a lot too? Different like style, you see different personalities, I'm sure, but
Oh, yeah.
even if it's like the same type of, if you will, niche, right, within
Mhm.
health and wellness, whatever they're coaching, let's say it is to be a yoga instructor, right?
Yeah.
Like, is it even cool with your experience to see how you're able to apply what you've learned with all of this into those different personalities, right?
Oh,
And into
yeah.
those different like places? Do you have
Yeah.
anything that comes to mind with you, like not a comparing at all, but just
Yeah.
like where you had to show up one way and then it was completely
Mhm.
different in another regard, right?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. And I think it just depends like on all of the
Mhm.
factors. Like we're all such unique beings and we're all at different points in our journey. And I may be on one call with someone that like we are very fiery and excited and maybe F-bombs are flying. And then I'm on another call with someone where we're on like the softer side. They need me to really hold them in that moment.
Mhm.
And it's much more serious and it's more emotional, you know, and I think like that's the cool, well, it's not the coolest, but it's one of the cool parts of what I get to do because like how beautiful is that I get to support so many different varieties of individuals at so many different stages and I think getting to have like a backstage pass essentially to their journey is so cool.
Yeah.
It's so cool. And like being able to like help shepherd them through that, it is just so cool. And I love, like, there's nothing that I love more than seeing them win and seeing them overcome the things that they came to me saying, I can't do this, and showing them, actually, you can, and you're really good at it.
I'm like geeking out over here because what I want to say so bad is it's witnessing them becoming. Like
Yeah.
witnessing them become like who they are meant to be in this
Yeah.
world. And it's like, that's not my say and who you become, right? Like
Yeah.
you are so, and again, I come back to capabilities. Like we
Yeah.
see that light again because we've turned our own on. Like it took time to turn our own on. So to
Yeah.
be able, I love that you said shepherd because that is such a great way of saying that. Like you're
Yeah.
the guy, like you're helping them get there, but it's all you, girl. It like, that's why I
Yeah.
always like, and that is my favorite part. That is, one of your posts that you did post was just like your why. Like, what is your purpose on the days that you
Mhm.
don't want to show up, right? Because those days happen. And,
Yeah.
you know, sometimes just hard because if
Yeah.
it was easy, again, everyone would do it. So, what do
Yeah.
we do for that? And you do have to come
Yeah.
back to your purpose. And that you said is I love it so much. I like it is so amazing. It's so amazing because again, like I really have come so far on my own journey,
Yeah.
right? And to be able to see someone else that thinks one way and
Mhm.
can't even see it, like
Yeah.
we can see it, right? Because of course we can just see that potential and all of that, but it's like when they start to realize it, when they start to
Mhm.
like, you know, that glow that you
Yeah.
were even feeling with yoga, right? Like it's so
Yeah.
beautiful to experience and be a part of and to witness it. I actually said this to a client. She is evolving in her own way too right now. She's taking a new path, right? Witnessing her, just I've worked with her for a year now, and I hope that I get to work with her in the future, you know, because
Yeah.
it's like she has just evolved so much and she's a little bit older than me too,
Yeah.
right? So it's also like as I learned through like this experience working with an older client, right?
Mhm.
It's still such a beautiful experience when she does these things because I'm also like, I know you have so much wisdom in there that you could also be sharing, right? And it's just
Yeah.
like seeing your own self shine. And so that it's just so women, I'm like such a, you know, I
know.
want women to feel that way, blooming.
Yeah.
That is part of like what I do is
Yeah.
like, I know I'm like,
Yeah.
here we go again. I'm like all the same, but my
Yeah.
part of my package, I give a bloom kit. And so it's
Yeah.
like all the tools that they need to be able to work together for the 12 weeks because that is, I want this to be a transformation, right? Like my goal
Yeah.
is to help you find that within yourself, climb the mountain, if
Yeah.
you will, and get to that top.
Mhm.
But it's not easy. And so I want more women to know that they deserve it. If they want it, they can go get it and like don't
Yes.
hold back. This is much what you speak on is don't hold back, like
Mhm.
shine. And this is
Mhm.
also why I'm like, I just love knowing your story, right? Because we're so different, but in like a
Yeah.
parallel here where,
Yeah.
you know, very same. And I love it. I love your
Yeah.
vibe. I love everything.
Thank
Yeah, girl.
Yeah.
Like I'm tooting you up, but I do. I was so excited to meet with you because I kind of thought that this would be the
Yeah.
type of conversation that we would have, very like a soul sister seeing soul sister
Yeah.
type of thing. So
Yeah.
now, when I do want to kind of wrap it up a little bit here, how would you say that you are looking to service the community in the future, like the women that you're working with, and just how do you see yourself evolving in the next couple of years?
So I think through really sitting with myself and having that downtime, the thing that kept coming up for me is that, yes, I started in social media, and social media will always be the vehicle, but it's not the destination. It's not the whole point. And I like really struggled with, because I'm like, whenever you build a business, it's so easy to have your entire identity wrapped up in that business. And I really struggled with, okay, but if I'm not Sarah, like social media girl, who am I? And am I valuable to people? And will I be accepted? And will I be loved? And will I be needed? And I had to like loosen my grip on that a little bit to see like what the next iteration gets to be. And I feel like that really is, and it goes hand in hand with social media. And it's like this kind of has to come first, but it's leading into your most authentic self. And like, I feel like it makes me think of like 2020, 2021, whenever like TikTok dances were huge. And everyone did this like weird little like poking their tongue out on the side of their mouth thing. You know what I'm talking? Yeah. It was like everyone was doing the same dances. Everyone was doing the same facial expressions. Everyone was like wearing the same, very casual, looks like you just threw clothes on, but it was very intentional because everybody looked the same. And I called that like your TikTok Barbie phase. Like you're not being you. You're being what you think is going to go viral. And what's actually going to go viral is who you really are whenever you take that mask off. And so that's literally the whole point of the podcast that I just started, is owning your magic. And often, I think, if not always, your magic is the thing that you feel like you can't show people. It's the thing that you feel like you have to keep hidden. And the second episode of the show, of the whole podcast, I just go into like, these are the things that I felt like I had to keep hidden. And these are the things that I felt like I couldn't talk about. And I would be like outcast for. But these are also the very things that make me me, and that make me like the best mentor for the people that I mentor. And so that is like what lights me up. What I'm most excited about is helping these women who they have such incredible, magnificent, powerful gifts, but they're hiding behind that like TikTok Barbie mask of what they think they have to be, instead of just showing people what they really are.
Yeah, absolutely. That was so wonderfully said. And I do want to tell you that that episode, when you just said that, I definitely remember seeing a clip of this. And that was another like spark for me, that I was like, you are a perfect person to come on here. And I'm like, let's shout out your podcast right now, because people definitely need to listen to it. What is it called again for everyone listening?
It's You Are the Magic. You can find all of the info at the youarethemagicpodcast.com.
Perfect. Because I'm like, as soon as I heard, it was definitely about like, I didn't think I could talk about this, right? I didn't like, it's being authentic, because that is who you are, right? And not having to hide that. And again, like the point of the mask, so powerful, because everyone's walking around with one on. And it's like, when you become authentically you, that's when you start to see it a little bit more, right? And it's like, you don't have to do that either, right? Like we were even made to believe we needed to have one on, but it's like,
even like doing that episode, if you listen to it, you'll see that it's edited more than most, because I fumbled over my words and I had lots of ums and likes and all of those filler words, because it was still very vulnerable for me to just put it out into the world and be like, okay, here's everything that I've hidden for 37 years. Here it is.
No, it is a vulnerable place to be at. And again, part of reason right here why I wanted this podcast to be a place to connect with other women, because as I'm building my business and all of this, like sister, I am also working through all these things, right? And it's like, it's not easy, and grateful that I get to know you now. And I hope that we get to build this relationship in the future, because it is about being authentically you and like shining your magic. And I've even said this before to someone who was like, you know, we say we're authentic, but like, take your mask off. I can see you. Like, you know, that is something I very much resonate with, is like, I really try to see someone, right? Like I do listen to like my own, you know, Like I see
Yeah.
people and I very much like, I want them to know that I see them too. Not in a
Yeah.
bad way, but like, because I don't want you to
'Cause-
hide from me. I want
yeah.
you to be able to be whoever you are. It's like acceptance, right? If I accept myself, then I'm going to accept you there. If we can't, that's where we see our own places where we're,
Mhm.
our own limiting self and our limiting
Yeah.
beliefs. And that helps you just evolve as a woman. So again, just so grateful that we got to have this
Yeah.
conversation, and so
Me too.
grateful. I can't wait to listen. I'm like, I have to listen on all your podcast episodes. So I'm like, I'm in the car on my way right here to St. Pete. I'm like, I'm going to get on here on some of these and I'm going to be listening more, because what you have to say is so, so important, so magnifying for what you're saying to light up people's magic and letting it shine. And your story and how I'm getting to just know you now from like that more of like, how everyone else, but I love this and I hope that I get to know more of you. And our guests also, where can they find you at on all social platforms?
So I am on Instagram most often at social.moguls, and you can find me on most social platforms, but that's the one that I'm most active on. You can find the podcast on Spotify, Apple, or YouTube. And youarethemagicpodcast.com has all of the details.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. This is so fun. I feel like we could literally just stay talking all day.
I'm like, you'll definitely come back on. We can definitely have another conversation, because I have loved this so very much. I'm so grateful for your time and coming here today. And you're awesome. I definitely want to know more. I want to explore where this relationship goes. And I definitely will be putting out for all of our listeners to find you and come like visit you and see your stuff and listen to what you have to say, because so needed and so necessary and so important. So thank you.
Well, thank you so much for having me.
Thank you for listening to this episode of Connecting the Thoughts. If this podcast resonates with you or anyone you may know, please feel free to share, like, comment, and we'll see you on the next one.